What is up, y'all? I am Will with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast brought to you by us here at Schedulefly. Simple, web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service and a low price. We have been doing this since 2007. We serve over 5,000 restaurants with a small team of 5. We are bootstrapped, profitable, and proud to be so. And we focus on super simple, reliable software and legendary customer service. My personal cell phone is on our website on 3 pages. You can find it very quickly. Go to schedulefly.com, and we have a 30-day free trial. Give it a shot anytime. Call me, text me, let me know what's up. Be happy to talk to you about Schedulefly and your business. If you are on pencil and paper or Excel, we will make your life easier. We will save you headaches. We will save you labor dollars, and we will make your staff really happy. If you are on another scheduling software, you may love it, but you also may be spending a lot more money for something that you could get through Schedulefly. Just give us a shot. Give me a call. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for watching this podcast. And with that, we will begin this podcast with a kind man who has traveled to Charlotte all the way from Arizona. Fred, introduce yourself.
Yeah, Fred Langley. I'm the CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, and we help restaurants save time and make more profits in their restaurant. And today we're also adding accounting to that. So we replace QuickBooks and help restaurants do hard things.
Do hard, yes. You help restaurants do hard. There's a lot of hard things to run a restaurant. What's your background, Fred? How did you get Restaurant Systems Pro started and when?
So I'm actually, I started off as a client of Restaurant Systems Pro back in 2004. Just a little bit after it was founded. I came up as a chef in the restaurant industry, multi-unit operator. And back in 2003, 2004, I was looking at my restaurant going like, my bottom line is not what I need it to be. And most restaurateurs, when they look at their bottom line and it's not what they need it to be, they think, well, I have to increase sales. And so I started looking at my marketing efforts. What could I do to get more butts and seats? How could I get more people in here, thinking that that was going to solve my profitability issues? And then all of a sudden I'm getting more butts and seats, doing the marketing stuff, and bottom line's not changing that much. And so, the reality is that the restaurant business is just full of variable expenses. And if you increase sales, those variable expenses go right up with sales.
Yeah.
And so, just putting more butts and seats is not going to solve that issue. So I was at this marketing conference, and my old business partner was on stage, David Scott Peters, and he was talking about none of the fun stuff, none of the exciting putting butts in seats, filling a full restaurant of people, having fun and drinking wine and enjoying their food. He was talking about doing inventory and budgeting, writing a schedule that's on budget, and having training systems in place and checklists and, good prep systems, and just things that are not the exciting part of running a restaurant, but they're very, very necessary. And when he was on stage, he really spoke to me, because it was things that, as I was on my own journey, thinking like, oh, I don't need to take inventory. I kind of know what's on the shelf. But really teaching in a way like, how do you really actually apply this to accounting? How do you apply it to your usage of product? How do you compare it to POS systems? Like all this information that was like, oh, this is what I'm missing. And so I just dove into these systems. And because I dove in, David called me up and he's like, hey, you're a chef, you're on independent restaurants. And he was a franchise guy. And so he's like, hey, how about if, you help me fill in the blanks, especially as a chef, where I may have some shortcomings, and, vice versa, we'll help each other. And so I came on as a coach right away. And so I started coaching restaurants, was on the phone, things like that. And so I also started implementing things that it made me better, because I didn't skip any system. Because if I was going to be coaching systems and the systems that we had, I better be doing them in my own restaurants instead of coaching restaurants. And then by 2005, it turned out where people were like, hey, all this stuff's great, but we need this done quicker and faster. And I don't want to write recipe costing cards, and I don't want to put my inventory in place. So that's where I started to get on a plane and doing consulting. And so I've consulted personally with, it's over 200 stores now, like personally consulted in their restaurants on the ground, consulting. And that was a part of our business. And so we started developing software in 2006, 2007. We weren't as ahead of the game as you guys were with a browser-based software. At that time, it was still, put it on a disk and install it on your hard drive, right?
Yeah.
We came out with budgeting and menu engineering software back in the day. And then over the years, it was 2011 by the time we launched our browser-based software. So yeah, that's kind of been our journey. And
2011.
Yeah.
Got it. And so you and David were doing this as partners, you said your former.
Yeah. So he hired me on, but by the time we were launching our software and the business was growing, up until that time, we became partners in 2011 as we were launching the software. I was helping with the software systems, develop it, and then I sold my restaurants and moved to Phoenix.
Okay.
So yeah, because I'm from Southern California.
Okay.
Yeah, 2011. So, and we moved there in 2012. My youngest son was born in Arizona. He's not a Californian.
So you were in Northern California.
Yeah.
Tough place to operate a restaurant right now.
Yeah. Well, back then, so remember, 2008 is where we really developed grit, and where we were really showing up for restaurateurs, because I was fighting the fight. Like in Northern California, there was neighborhoods that were just empty houses like crazy with the housing crisis that happened and that whole bubble bursting. And so when I had a fine dining restaurant, and it lost 75% of its sales like that. And because like, hey, if we have trouble paying the mortgage, we're not going to fine dining,
Yeah.
So I had a pizza, family Italian pizzeria, but the fine dining, that's where, we have a thing called the reverse labor system, where it looks at your schedule and what you're spending, and it looks at the budget, and it starts at, and it's a different way of looking at your daily labor goals rather than looking at them as percentages. And that was developed during 2008 when we were like backs up against the wall, having to make it work, having to look at labor every single hour of every single day in real time during shifts. And how do we manage that? How do we teach people how to do it? So some of our best systems came out of 2008. Yeah.
Necessity is the mother of all invention. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. So tell me I own a restaurant and I'm doing okay. I'm making whatever. Maybe let's say right now I'm making 3% margins or something like that. Like, how does Restaurant Systems Pro help me?
Yeah. So, we don't want anybody we work with to be average, and 3% profit is very, very mediocre, very average. There's some restaurateurs that, in fact, those are the restaurateurs that I have trouble, having a look at our systems. They don't even really look, because the status quo is just fine for them where they're at, making 5 to 7% profits even. And our average client has been with us 11 and a half years. We have people that have been with us all the way since 2004 when we were founded.
I mean, your average client for 11
and a half years. That's average.
That's a lot, my friend.
And even with our growth, you're averaging in people that have been with us just a few months with the people that have been with us a lifetime. So we're really proud of that. And we'll, that metric for us comes from, I think the same thing that you're talking about with Schedulefly there at the beginning is just outstanding customer service. When people need you, they can get you. My cell phone is in my email signature. Any new client gets my cell phone number. It's really important to me to know that our clients are taken care of and happy and making life changes. So anyways, I would say, we have trouble going to that person that's making 5 to 7% profit, because they're twice as good as the 3% average person. They're like, hey, I'm twice as good as the average restaurant. Why do I need to, implement these systems and do inventory and, have labor budgeting and, extensive checklists and training systems? And why do I need to have all that stuff when I'm making 5 to 7% profit? I'm twice as good as the average restaurant. That's the person I have the most trouble meeting, because my clients, the personality of them is usually their backs against the wall and they have to do something to survive. or they're very ambitious and they really want to grow their brand, reach more people, take care of their employees, and they're looking for those higher profit margins there. So those are like the two main types of customers. That person in the middle where, life's just fine the way it is, we have trouble reaching them. That has actually changed. The pandemic changed that, where people that were making 5 to 7% are now they're not making that. They're out looking for us, which is great because we want to show up for them. And we're going to be here when people are ready to put systems in place and have that. It's also helping that we've added accounting to that, because now we're solving another problem with just running the systems in there. So we're really excited about that. But our clients that are doing the systems daily, running the systems, are making 15 to 25% profit. And that range comes from whatever their debt service is. Maybe they're, and even in California, if they're doing more than $1 million, we get the 55 prime cost, which is total cost of goods sold and total labor combined to get that prime cost number. Even in California, even in Washington, even Oregon, I have clients in Washington at $17.28 for servers. When you're looking at Texas, it's $2.13 an hour for a server. Mm-hmm. There's that tip credit, and it's different. Some people go like, oh, well, they're able to do it because it's $2.13 an hour, but they also can't get, $19 for a burger, too. So there's ways to make it happen where I could go to California and somebody's not going to bat an eye at an $18, $19 burger. But in Texas, they'd go, are you crazy? But in Texas, it's $2.13 an hour per server. So these prices are different, and it's because you have to do it. So it's not impossible. A lot of restaurateurs think it's impossible, especially if you're losing money or they're running an 80% prime cost. Most restaurants will come in, they're running 70 to 75 prime cost.
Yeah.
And so they'll make a 20-point swing getting to a 55. And so if they're only making 3 points, well, if they make that 20-point swing, they're making 17% profit to their bottom line, or 20 point if they're losing 3%. Yeah.
Okay. Your average customer is between 15 and 25%.
Yes. Yes.
And you have customers that have been with you on an average of 11 and a half years.
Yeah. Why would you leave if you're returning that kind of profit?
Well, look, I mean, if I'm listening to this, I'm going, wait a minute, what am I missing? I mean, it sounds
right.
It sounds too good to be true. It sounds like, 15 to 25%, but you're starting a business that's been around for 2 years making these claims. You've been doing this for a long time. You have customers who've been with you for 11 and a half years. And it's interesting what you said. You have people that are back against the wall. I mean, you probably have people that are like, dude, if I don't get this figured out in the next year, we're closing. Like, we're done.
Yeah.
Particularly now, like over the last year, it's been a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Or you got somebody that's satisfied with being above average. Mm-hmm. That's a challenge. You really need somebody that's like, I want to go for it. I want to make a difference in my life, in my family's life, in my staff's lives, in my community's lives. Like, you need like a kind of a dog after a ball person who's like, yeah, we're at 7, but we can double that. Like, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
That's the mentality. Now let's walk through each of this. Okay. Talk about the person who goes, we got problems. Like, we used to be at 4 or 5%, and now we're even or 1%. Like, is that, what do you do with somebody?
I mean, the first thing is we start setting goals. We start looking to see like what we need to do to change that reality.
Yeah.
Right. And so what happens is when you're able to show them what things need to happen to get there, it makes the goal a lot more easier. It actually starts to relieve stress. Even if we do an outlook to say, look, you're on the path of going out of business. That's extremely stressful. Your whole lives into it, everything you've poured into it. Who knows how many years your restaurant's been open? It could have, even if it's just started out or it's 20 years old, it's still stressful. Nobody wants to fail. Nobody wants those feelings are really hard to deal with, and they can freeze you from taking action, right? You can get frozen in fear.
Yeah.
I know what it feels like when the market dropped, and you lose 75% of your sales. There's so much fear that just cripples you.
Right. Yes. Fear is very crippling. Mm-hmm. It's a dark place, and it can literally just lead you to I mean, that's it. It's like fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
You know, or freeze,
Right.
which when you're in fear, often.
Yeah, indecision happens. Yeah, step. What's the right course to take? Do I focus on marketing? What do I do?
Right.
So what we do is we put a plan in place with every client. It doesn't matter if where they're at. That's the very first thing that we do is we put a budget in place, targets to hit down every single line item of expenditures, from what is your credit card processing to what's your labor and where is it at. And I have had people that have told me like, hey, it's impossible for me to get there. And so what we do is we go through the budget and we say, okay, here's a breakdown of how you're operating right now. If you don't have your books together, we'll take bank statements and figure out where you're at and build that as well. It's like, here's where you're at, even if you don't know, because some people are flying blind, which is part of the reason they're in the trouble that they are in. Or they're flying semi-blind where all their books are 2 months old, or the numbers that they have aren't really or they're just looking at only a POS number. And it's like, it doesn't tell you what your food cost is, or they're looking at QuickBooks without just any number of reasons that they're flying blind. Right. So we look at that and we lay it out there. I remember meeting with a client recently where they felt like it was impossible. They told me that what we were doing is impossible. But what we did is we broke their budget down and we went through all of their goals individually and said, hey, here's where your food cost is at here today. Based on what we're seeing, we think it can get to here. Do you agree with that? Oh yeah, we can do that. Here's your labor for servers. Here's your labor for cooks. If we take it from here to here, we go through that. And when we did it individually, each goal they could believe in and stand behind. When they saw that, when they were thinking of the goal and the big picture of the whole company, it was impossible in their mind.
Right.
But when we broke it down and walked through each goal, it was like, oh, I can do this. This is possible. And so it's like, getting the 15-20% profit. It's like, well, if I don't know, I always like the gym analogy, because it's like, well, if you worked out every day and you went to the gym and ate right, could you lose, 20 pounds in a couple months? And you go, well, yeah, I could do that. And what we do is we organize it. We put those steps in place. We give you the meal plan and the workout, the things you have to do, but it's not easy, right? That's why the person where the status quo is good, they don't want to do these things, because no matter what, even in our software and it's on a tablet and the inventory is shelf to sheet, it's still hard to go to your managers that you have trouble hiring and say, hey, we got to do these, we got to get into good numbers. So we need to take inventory, that schedule needs to be done a little bit earlier so we can analyze it against budget instead of, getting it out the night before it's due. Those are things that, they're hard still, even with software. And so, to get to that, you have to do hard things. And what we teach you to do is spread those hard things out and make it to where, there's all those little details that have to be done can be delegated to different people to their level of responsibility, so that you can run your store from the big picture perspective, delegate those little details, which a lot of times owners aren't good at the little details. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
Your entrepreneurs, your big picture thinking, and all those little details that have to happen need to be done by your staff, and you need to hold them accountable to those things and make sure that they're being done. And that's what systems will do for you.
Yeah. There's a lot of, you did a lot of consulting, and I hear this because you're what I'm hearing is that you have this tool that can make it disproven time and again to move the needle and make a difference. But if you don't use the tool or manage the tool.
Yeah. One of my coaches says, if you don't use the tool, you become the tool.
Yeah. All right. There you go. So you have, tell me about your coaches.
Yeah. So I have a number of restaurant coaches because, legendary customer service is so important. Like, we're a software company that's full of restaurant people. So we look at our software support as hospitality, right? And we want to provide hospitality to our software clients, right? It's not like the typical software company where, you submit a ticket by email and maybe a day you'll get a response that we'll get back to you in a week, or no response at all, or it just gets lost, or you get online with somebody who doesn't know anything about the system or the restaurant business, and they start going through the same knowledge base that you have the ability to search up yourself, right? And so they don't have any more knowledge than you do, and you guys are both, trying to figure it out through some knowledge base that was put online, and the software company calls that good. So my team is full of restaurant professionals, from former area managers. In fact, one of them I hired, I tricked them. I like to tell a story because I had an ad out there to hire a restaurant coach, and I put a restaurant coach ad out there. And all I got was a whole bunch of restaurant managers who were like, oh my gosh, I hate the restaurant business. It's so exciting. I can get out of the restaurant business. I can work a Monday to Friday job. And there was just so much talk about hating the restaurant business in these interviews. I'm like, I don't want somebody that hates the restaurant business.
Yeah.
So I put an ad out for a general manager, area manager. So I know that I'd be looking for the person that had the right skills. And this person, as an area manager for a Papa John's, he oversaw like 15 stores, was looking to get out because there was just some things going on in the company and he was looking to move on. And so he applied, and this is Jeff. And I said, hey, in the interview, I got to let you know I tricked you. This isn't actually a job at a restaurant. This is actually a job coaching restaurants and helping them with our software and implement systems. And you're a person that obviously knows systems and implementation of systems, and you're having to use them if you're overseeing 15 stores. So, does this still interest you? And he was like, yeah, this sounds cool. This sounds really exciting. And so we kind of tricked them into finding the right person. You know what I mean? So, and then Brittany, we trained her up. We have her on our team. She came to us when she was 19 years old, and we met her. She was working at a local Panera, and her customer service skills were just off the charts. Yeah. And so it was one of those things where we're like, hey, I also told this restaurant, you don't go in and say, hey, I want to hire you. You say, if you ever know somebody that's just like you, send them our way. And so she showed up and said, hey, I'm just like me. And
I love that.
And so she showed up, and she started off just answering the phones and doing tasks. Well, she was really committed to what we were doing, and so we had some local clients. And so for a good 3-year time frame, she went and worked as a manager at night for our local clients to get like real world experience in managing restaurants as well. And so she's been with us now. I don't want to say her age, but she's been with us close to 9 or 10 years now. And Greg on our team, he came from, other software sales, and he was in the restaurant business and chef his whole life. Lisa came from the restaurant. Everybody, all of our coaches came, and Lisa's also our on-site consultant. She basically started in 2014. And as our consulting was growing, she became my assistant in consulting. And then we have another coach that was doing on-site implementation coaching. And he got hired by $100 million restaurant group because he was so good at what he does. And they're still clients of ours today, but he went left to run their restaurant group. And so Lisa went from helping me consulting to doing implementation consulting in 2016. And so she goes on the ground when people want to speed up implementation, have somebody on the ground to train. She's that person. And she also does coaching. We have Chef Gino who does consulting as well. He's also leading up our team in launching our POS system. Something I really haven't mentioned. We're launching a POS system because we know what POS systems need to be doing. So we have a team of coaches that are, there to serve people. Then we have people that are processing invoices and managing that too. So we have a pretty big team that's doing accounting and processing invoices, but we're also showing up to give great customer service because we see it as hospitality.
I could not agree more. That's exactly right. You serve the hospitality industry. How could you not provide them the same? I mean, they recognize it.
Yeah. POS system is name serve because that's our.
Well, let's talk about that. I want to talk about that, but first I want to talk about something that, we spoke about earlier, which has driven some of your growth recently, which is accounting. So tell me what's new.
Yeah. So we have, so one of the things that we've been able to do, and we have a lot of our clients currently upgrading, is without changing what they're doing, because we're already pulling sales from the POS system. We're already entering invoices, and we invoice
integrated with many POS.
Yes. All the big ones we're integrated with, and there's a couple more that are coming online too. Sadly, honestly, I'm going to say this publicly. Sadly, Square is one we're working on. I don't like Square's system because they say it's free, but the credit card processing is just exorbitant too. So it's air quotes free system that they just really, you end up
paying for it.
It's
free. You're paying for it somewhere.
So, but we have clients in it, and we want to help clients, and so we're going to work on those integrations that have it. But so we're pulling that POS data. So we have the sales data, and what we can do is create those general ledger entries to break down the sales, and then also have like undeposited funds from credit card processing and all those, the accounting things that have to go with it. It's already in our system. And so it's setting it up to where it happens automatic. The invoices are coming in and we're tracking how many cases of chicken you're buying. So we also know what the accounting codes there are for that too. So we're also creating the accounting codes for those invoices, as well as tracking the price of those items and all the amount of those items that you're purchasing. So you can now upload your rent, your utility bills, all those get processed and go to the right accounting code so we can create your P&Ls. One thing that we can do is, like, if you're in QuickBooks and you have your inventory number, well, you got to go do a general ledger entry for your inventory in QuickBooks. Well, guess what? Your inventory is already in our system. You don't have to do those entries at all because your inventory is already in our system. We go grab that data. We do the proper entries automatically in the back end because you're doing your inventory. Now, inventory doesn't happen automatically. You still got to count that, go in the freezer and count that stuff. But all those general ledger entries that we're waiting months for our bookkeepers to get done happen immediately. See, today's January 9th. A week ago on January 2nd, my clients have their December books because we don't have to wait for that payroll that maybe a payroll started on December 24th. And that is not going to end until January 7th. And the paycheck's not going to happen until 5 days later on January 12th. And then that's got to get reconciled by the bookkeeper to, get entered in. And then maybe that bookkeeper is entering that payroll on January 12th because they don't know how to do accruals. And so now this January 12th inventory has a whole bunch of December labor in it, comparing it to January sales. And it gives you a garbage report. It's good to pay taxes, but I don't know how my restaurant's running from my P&L, right? And so those, because we're connected to the POS system and the punch times and we get all that, those accruals happen automatically. So we can break out of that payroll immediately what the actual December payroll was and leave that in December compared to December sales. So you get a real report card for your business. We also don't need to wait till that payroll is finished to get a preliminary P&L. So if all your invoices have been uploaded, you have a P&L on January 2nd, January 1st, as soon as that work weekend. So that's exciting. And especially when somebody's used to waiting a couple months for a P&L and maybe not seeing their December P&L until February.
Yeah.
And then weekly P&Ls as well. Yeah. Every single week, a mini P&L that lets you know how you're doing against those goals I talked about. How am I doing every single week? So that's that.
You've got a lot of existing clients here.
Switching over without having to do extra work, they're able to switch over because now you can print checks and pay your bills, record ACH. We're adding ACH transactions where they'll be able to just check off those invoices and pay them directly to the system. Right now, you can print checks. You can add your credit card. So if I make a payment to my credit card company, it's not going to affect my P&L because it's paying down a balance sheet liability, right? If I have a loan, I can break out principal and interest. All those accounting things that are so important for restaurants to do. If I prepay taxes quarterly throughout the year, I can accrue them properly over them with my general ledger entry. So and it's easier to do than QuickBooks because we have restaurateurs in mind. And so when you're looking at that general ledger entry, we have a way to look at it that's for an easy for a restaurant manager to see what my end of day should look like. For example, like everything I sold, food, beer, wine on one side of a scale, balance and money I collected. So sales tax and tips, if you're paying them out on checks, things like that. I collect money that isn't sales every day in a restaurant. The tip money I'm collecting, whether I'm paying it out daily or it's on their check, we handle that. Those are accounting transactions that don't affect your sales, but they're money that you're handling and has to be handled in your accounting. And so we automate all that for your restaurant. And we put it in a way that a restaurant manager can understand that information and then shows the general ledger entry that an accountant can understand.
Got it. Yeah. That's huge. Yeah. You've got now, okay, we have to talk about CERT. You've got, you're building a point of sales.
Yeah. So we built it. It's actually a couple years behind, but it's because of our heart for the restaurateur that it's delayed. It's not delayed because the technology wasn't ready or anything. It's delayed because the credit card processing world is a dark place that we're navigating. And we're navigating it on behalf of our clients. And it's a dark place because there's a lot of people that want to just get on the back of hardworking restaurant owners and take a large piece of that. And we want to, of course, we need to make some money from it. We have millions that have gone into it. But we want to do it in a way that is saving the restaurateur money. And then we're only need to make a little bit on that because we have other ways. You're going to pay us for accounting in other ways. We're obviously a business that we need to have the people there to support you in the way that you need it. But we want to do it in a way that promotes the health of your industry. And I've helped restaurateurs for the past 20 years shop credit card processing, find good credit card processing. And so if I'm going into the marketplace and I'm providing credit card processing, I better do it in a way that's ethical, in a way that is a benefit to the restaurant owner. And, you start looking at that, you're going to find lots of hidden fees in that credit card processing, and they start raising prices on you without you knowing, and they think you're not looking. In fact, they know you're not looking a lot of times. And so you got to really pay attention to those numbers. And there's a lot of expense that goes into that if you're not paying attention to it. A lot of these companies are buying up POS systems just so that they can raise the credit card rates. I'm not going to mention names on that. You could do a couple of Google searches and you'll see that there's established POS systems that are raising rates, and they're doing it because they know that a lot of times a restaurant owner, they don't like when they see that bill, they're like, hey, I need to cut expenses. And so they see that as an expense. And then a lot of times that credit card processing gets hidden and they don't pay attention to it. So that's where a lot of restaurant tech is going to take money from restaurant owners in there. So we want to do it the right way. We want to do it in a way that is just creating a lot of health. I know that if I have an average of 11 and a half years, that over time we'll make money. We don't need to try to make as much money off of you in the small time that we have with you until you switch to something else. We know we got a lifetime relationship, and so we can give you good rates. So then our POS system has KDS, which is our kitchen display system. So you don't have printers, or we're able to help with quick serve and with full service. We have, the wireless units that are table side, the handhelds, for you to use. So all the technology is there. And, we're really excited about bringing it to the market. We have some beta testers out there that it's going well with. And, we've already processed the system's already processed over 100 million in processing. So it's definitely been put through the ringer. So people don't have to.
How many locations are out there beta testing?
2. So there's just a few locations, but, I acquired an existing POS system, and that's where that 100 is. So I acquired that. And so I can't mention what the brand was on that, but it's already out there. So we acquired it and have made it 100 times better by adding it to the systems too. So I have like 4 or 5 clients in it right now, but it's also has previous iterations that's where that 100 million was come from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So you
it's battle tested. Yeah.
And built from the ground up.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Tough space. I mean,
it is. Yeah.
That's a tough space to get in. You got massive public companies that are, you got Toast is just taking market share all over the place. Talk to me about that. I mean, talk to me about how do you compete with that? And I think we're out in tough space.
I think that, honestly, going forward, we named it Serve, and I think we're going to compete the same way that Schedulefly competes in the marketplace.
Yeah.
We're going to show up when Saturday night and, everything's going south, that you can pick up the phone and get somebody to help you, to understand, like, part of our delay is like knowing that, hey, if the internet or power goes out, what's going to happen to all these checks that are open in my restaurant? How am I going to capture those credit cards and make sure that I can not lose thousands of dollars because the power went out or the internet went out in my store? Making sure that we're taking care of that, to make sure that it's connected to Restaurant Systems Pro in a way that I truly know, that even though I sold 20 different omelets that had 20 different make your own omelets, 20 different ways, that I'll still be able to know what my ideal cost was on that and how much product I should have used. When most POS systems, they're just only concerned about how can I ring this in as fast as possible. Like if let's say coffee, for an example, I could walk into a coffee shop and go, well, I'm going to get a latte, right? First, it's going to be small, medium, or large. Okay. That's going to be the first level of modifier. Then it's going to be oat milk, skim milk, almond milk, vitamin D, cream, all those different selections of modifiers, right? Then am I going to have, hazelnut syrup, vanilla syrup, sugar, whatever the different flavors of it, or plain, right? So you have all these, so the normal POS company is just going to think, well, how can I ring this in as fast as possible and collect the money, right? So I'm going to choose a latte, what size, what milk, all those things. So we want to do that too. But now we're going to be tracking how much oat milk should we have used this week versus how much we actually used.
Yeah.
How much coffee should we have used? The make your own omelet. If you're a barbecue place that has choose two meats and two sides. How do I know what with all those modifiers, what I should have used, what I actually used? And our POS system's going deep on that stuff.
Gotcha. Too. Yeah. Tell me about the credit card part of this. How do we get through the darkness?
Yeah. Well, there's a number of things too, is to be able to understand interchange and understand, what's going on with that. Interchange is what Visa MasterCard is. That's kind of like that base that they're getting, right? And then so interchange plus is going to be what the markup is on that interchange. And so a lot of things get hidden where they're just adding fixed fees into that stuff. Toast, honestly, has just changed the wording on their contract to say, instead of calling it interchange, plus they call it cost of processing. And that's because Congress and the lawmakers are trying to regulate some of the exorbitant fees and saying that, hey, if interchange is what it is, and they're using the word interchange. And so legally they're trying to get around some of this stuff by calling it cost of processing instead of interchange, because the government's calling it interchange. And if I'm doing it and calling it cost of processing, I can charge whatever I want without being regulated by the government, right? When I think if you self-regulate and do the right thing for people, that will work out over time. And that's our plan. That's really our plan, is do the right thing by our clients. That's what we've done in the past. That's what we plan to do in the future. And making sure that they can navigate that interchange. And we can identify, we have software that lets us know what your interchange is and know what your markup is, and and be very transparent with it. Part of our delay in going to market is because we found a processor that was going to partner with us and was getting good rates and stuff, but we couldn't prove it with their reporting. And proving that we're giving good rates is a really important part of what we're doing, right? Trust but verify, like Ronald Reagan said. So
yeah. So still some work to do.
Well, we're there. I mean, actually, as of it's actually Christmas Day was all that was online, and some of my team was working Christmas Day with some of our programmers, because all of that stuff that got where we have good rates, we have good reporting. Also, if we're doing accounting, we got to be able to know what the processing fees are and all that stuff, and be able to account for it too. So that's another part of having good processing with our POS system. So, yeah.
So you think you'll sell your POS system mostly to your existing clients? Will you have a sales team that's out there, or dealers that are out there selling it to new clients? Like,
yes,
the lead product, or is that the?
So we're actually ready for growth. We have a partner that we work with, and what they do is they install POS systems, and they're in all regions of the U.S. So they'll be able to help with the installation locally, for all of our clients.
Just like a dealer that.
Yeah, it is a dealer, and they've worked with Toast and they've worked for some of the other big POS systems in the past too. And they're actually very excited to work with us because, I like to talk about it, people. We're just doing the right things with them and doing the right, and being transparent. So there's things that go on in the industry that are backhanded, and honestly, they've appreciated that about us, and we're excited. They're excited to do a lot of installs for us. I have a lot of my clients that are ready to install right now, and they appreciate, because they know us, they appreciate the fact that we've waited to launch it until it's perfect for them. And I think we have 50 clients right now that are saying we're going to get those installed over the next couple months. And we have a lot of new clients that, just because they know our reputation, and we will also be the only POS system in existence in the restaurant industry that has full accounting with their POS system. It doesn't exist.
Wait, it's only POS
that has a full accounting. that goes right with their POS system. Everything else is integrations and pushing in. There's always things get lost in translation when you're pushing and pulling data from one to another, and it's all integrated.
Well, we have a different, we being Restaurant Systems Pro and Schedulefly, I just think we have the opportunity to do things at a different pace and to do things that's right by the customer, because we don't have, tens of millions of dollars breathing down our neck telling us grow,
Yep.
and, aggressively sell and do whatever it takes to get these, units in as many stores as possible.
Yep.
Like now.
I did a raise to get all this done, and it was a friends and family raise, and those friends and family are Restaurant Systems Pro customers that we help make a lot of money.
Yeah.
They believe in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's not some venture capital firm that is saying, hey,
They're not asking you to go, double
right
next month.
Hire all your staff.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say about customer service. We need to show bottom line so that we can raise more money or something. That's what happens,
Yeah. Let's talk about your Cacciatore. He has a wonderful podcast that he's been doing for quite some time. Restaurant Unstoppable, and I just admire him. He has pushed all of his chips in on building this incredible business. He's, I think, living out of his Sprinter van now, traveling all over and sharing the stories of restaurant people. And y'all are his sponsor.
Yeah.
We're
his main sponsor for a good 2 years now. Yeah.
Years now. Yeah. How did that come about?
Well, it came about really organically. He has such a heart for the restaurateur, and he, as soon as one of the things that happened is he ghosted me right out of the gate. As soon as he had a relationship with us, but he had a personal relationship with David, and he didn't know who I was. I was the one running the company, but David's always the face of our company, right? He gives speeches. And you guys can find David out there too. He's still giving speeches. He still has a restaurant coaching. He's doing restaurant coaching, and he's fantastic at what he does. He's just out of the software space now. But Eric's relationship was with David coming on the podcast. And so when I reached out to him, it was like, well, Eric's like, well, I only deal with people who say, we recommend it. At the end of each episode, he asks, hey, who in the industry do I need to talk to? And so if it was 2 years, it took about 3 years where he finally called me up after I had contacted him and said, hey, and said, hey, people are talking about you. And so he had me on the podcast, and it was organic. He's a man of his word, and it was from other people talking about us, and he was hearing about us. And so it took that for him to say, okay, Fred, I'm ready to talk to you. We started talking. I appreciated his heart for the industry, and I said, hey, well, I feel like the people that are listening to your podcast really need to know about Restaurant Systems Pro. And so we started sponsoring it. For me, does that mean that I'm flooded with clients from it all the time? Honestly, no, but I know that we're getting the word out and it's picking up pace, and I believe in what Eric's doing. And I feel like that, in sponsoring him, that we're on mission, with the same goals to help the industry. And, and I'm happy to help him achieve these goals that are helping restaurateurs, because he offers a great service. I mean, it's a 2-hour podcast, and people will just pour their heart and soul out, and he's actually getting them to share numbers more to kind of pull the veil in the industry where everybody thinks everybody's making money, and it's really difficult to make money. And he is really out there making a difference, and I'm really proud to sponsor.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to bring him up because I've always admired what he's doing. And I remember when he very first started, he had me on as an episode, I don't know, 30s, 40s. Hey, back. And he was just getting going. And I just kept thinking, well, if he can figure this out, because, we need that energy and that passion poured into sharing stories and educating people and inspiring people. And you know, I like to do it. I would do it every day if I could. I'm glad that somebody is able to do that.
2 episodes a week is a lot. Yeah, he's grinding.
Yeah, and those are long form episodes.
Yeah,
he gets great guests and great content. And, so I love that. Well, I wanted to make sure to talk about it.
And he's built community, which is something I've heard you talk a lot about.
Yeah,
and he's building a community, and it's like the restaurant business is a lonely business, and it needs community. Yeah.
It really is weird because restaurants are a place of community. They are a gathering spot for their local communities. They foster community, but the people that run restaurants often barely have time to even talk to the, restaurant owner 3 doors down. And they want to, and they need to, and they need people to grease the skids to help make that happen. And I think, you're doing that with your masterminds. Eric is doing that, and we're trying to do that as well. But they benefit a lot from that, and but it's hard for them to navigate that on their own.
Yeah, it really is, and it's like, and there's even that some restaurateurs have in the back of their mind, like, I don't want to give my best secret to my competitor down the street. And this is what my clients have learned, like, hey, my clients, especially when they start to figure it out with systems and they start to really do it, like, hey, I'm not going to hurt my business by going down the street and helping, my friend that's 3 doors down. I'm not going to hurt my business by doing that. But in the back of, when you're struggling, sometimes you think, if I don't want to lose any margin at all, I don't want to give any of that away to the person that's 3 doors down from me. And it just makes it lonely and difficult. So at least we can get people started by, getting them in community with people that aren't their competitors sometimes, too. But
yeah,
I just want to encourage everybody out there that, talk with your competitors and see where they're at and show up for them. And, when you're dropping off a case of fryer roll that they needed because they're in a pinch, and you're helping each other out to, take that relationship even deeper.
I spent about a year and a half ago, I was down in Greenville, South Carolina, and there's a wonderful restaurant group owner down there, Carl Sobosinski, and he's got Table 301 group, and I'm just an incredibly run group of restaurants, and I have tremendous respect for Carl, and his reputation is impeccable in that community and in the restaurant community. And at the time, we were at one of his restaurants recording an episode. We were at Sobeys, which is sort of a, iconic institution there in Greenville, South Carolina. Great place. And at the time, right across the street, the Indigo Road, Steve Palmer's group, was opening 2 restaurants, like directly across the street in a new sort of like hotel complex there. And I said, does that concern you? And he said, no, I love it. Like, more great restaurants down in this part of the street, then it's more people coming here and more opportunity to serve more people, and we'll, just help make each other better. And I feel like that's obviously somebody who's doing well enough that he's not operating out of fear, and he's embracing competition and sort of the rising tide lifts all boats mentality. But I think that's important.
Yeah. Our gas station's an indicator of that. There's usually 2 or 3 on a corner, right? It's like, they're not hurting each other. They're obviously keep doing it,
Exactly.
Otherwise they would avoid it.
Exactly.
It just brings more people there overall. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, Fred, what else should we talk about, man? What else is on your mind?
Well, it's just been, I just want to encourage people out there, that, sometimes what you think is impossible is possible with a little bit of effort and focus and attention, to those details. We want our restaurants to be successful, not just for us, but our families and our employees and our community. And I think the best restaurateurs realize that, that they're doing more than just, than having an assembly line that puts out a product, that they're actually invoking emotion and providing a gathering place and community. And sometimes it's hard to get back to that and see it when we're struggling to pay our bills, or, the tax bills due, employees aren't showing up for work, or, all those problems that happen in the industry. Prices are going up, inflation, and we're trying to deal with that. We're trying to keep our prices low for our guests when our prices are going up. It's just difficult. And I just want to encourage people that, that there is a way. And I'm not saying that we're the answer to that. I mean, it could be but whatever you're doing, know that there's hope. So don't be hopeless. Hope is one of the greatest things that we have is on this earth. And I want restaurateurs to have it. I guess that's a closing message. I guess. Yeah.
That's a wonderful closing message. Are you and I, well, look, I want to say this personally about you, because I have a lot of respect for you. First of all, you flew out here from Arizona to be on this.
It's nice to sit here across, and I feel like the conversation is just great.
And we had a great dinner last night. We went to Ted's Montana Grill and got some bison strips, and that was fun. And we had a wonderful conversation. But I want to say something personal about you, because I want people that are listening to know you're a very you're a straight shooter. You're a genuine and you're an authentic guy. I think that's very clearly come across where your heart is, and through everything you said today. But several years ago, my sorry, a little emotional. My daughter went through something very significant, and I was in a really rough place. I don't even remember why. I don't know if you and I were supposed to record a podcast or what we were doing then. Or I was like, dude, I can't. And and we didn't even know each other, really. I mean, we may have talked once or twice, but you prayed over me. And
I just felt that you needed it.
I could, and it meant a lot. I told you that last night, but I appreciate that. But I knew then, this is a genuine dude, and it's been, very clear ever since then. I mean, you've continued to. I mean, when I first talked to you, you were talking about like 15 to 25%. I'm like, like, is this fact? Really? And here we are several years later, and it's the same deal, and your customers have stuck with you, and you do so much for this industry and care so much about this industry. So, the industry's better off for you and for your team. And I thoroughly appreciate the opportunity to have you on this podcast, particularly the fact that you made the effort to come all the way out here says a lot. So thank you.
Thank you. It's my honor and pleasure. It's been a really great trip.
Absolutely. And we'll continue our conversations. And looking at that brand new hat you have on and looking at mine makes me realize I probably need to grab one of the new ones. I'm always handing them out, and I realize how. But thank you for wearing that. Thank you for the friendship with Schedule Fly, and just appreciate you a lot. And appreciate what you're doing for the business, for the industry.
Thank you. Well, I want to say too, the feeling's mutual. I come across a lot of people in the industry, and it's almost always a mentality. What can I do for me instead of what can I do for others? And you definitely are always putting your clients first. And I think that's the best thing for them, and it's the best thing for Schedule Fly. It's backwards thinking.
It is. But it's how so many good restaurant owners, it's like if you serve with the servant's heart, and you focus on your team and your community, and you focus on everything else will take care of itself. I mean, this is what I always talk about with like, if you build, you mentioned last night, I don't have like some exit strategy, exit plan. And people always ask, what's your exit strategy? I feel like if you go in, I wrote this blog post years ago. I was like, going into a business with an exit strategy is like going into a marriage with an exit strategy. I mean, married for 10 years and I'm leaving her, and no, like you go in going, I'm doing this for now. There may be an exit. I don't make like, if the goal is on that, you're actually going to minimize the opportunity one day to have some meaningful exit, because you've had this focus on, it's a myopic focus versus, I'm going to build this amazing company and this incredible brand, and I'm going to take great care of people. Then that stuff, everything will come with that. You know, you will be profitable and you will be happy and you will be successful. But it's got to be, I mean, if you look at best restaurant people, and like I mentioned, Carl down there, like he is always focused on his people. I mean, he has people that come to him that have been with him, and it's a chef, and that he or she has got this idea for this new concept. And you know what that dude does? He invests from his business into opening a new concept with that chef or that manager, whoever has, and then uses their systems to get it going and make sure it's successful, make sure it's working, and then gives them the opportunity to take it out on their own and buy it from him at nothing, basically, and just go for it. And therefore he
sleeps well at night.
He sleeps well at night, and he does really well. And he's, you know, but anyway, that's a mentality.
And you're right. As far as an exit strategy, you still want to have good numbers and things in place so that that your business isn't dependent on you. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be better. It's going to create more opportunities for everybody else.
Yes.
As long as it's not dependent on you. That's where we, in our systems, get people out of being a slave to their restaurant.
Yes.
We don't want that. But we do want, but when you're not a slave to your restaurant, it also does make it more saleable. It makes it to where people, it also makes it more prepared for growth. It makes it to where you have more opportunities for people to grow in your company and want to stay with you longer and not have to move on to in their business or to move up in their career. I mean, so those are all really important things. But yeah, as far as this is my life. I love the restaurant business. I'm in it forever.
Yeah.
As long as I can be. And, I have a heart for restaurateurs. That's for sure.
I hear you. Amen. All right, y'all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, we would absolutely love if you take a second and just click a star rating or click a thumbs up or make a comment. I mean, the more engagement y'all, our audience, have with whatever podcast platform you're using to indicate that you're enjoying this content, the more those algorithms will put this content in front of more people to learn and get inspired. And we thank you very much. And more episodes coming soon. See ya.